But before that was the only things that really happened was the Industrial Revolution, um, and just kind of from 1860s to 1900s, not a lot of stuff happened. But now the 1900s started happening, a lot of stuff started happening. Um, oh wow, we're 24 minutes in already. So, there's a lot of stuff going on. Women's suffrage. Women should suffer. That's what it sounds like, but no, they got the right to vote. Um, and things were doing pretty good for America, especially in the 20s, mostly. It was called the Roaring 20s. We were doing really good. I mean, we had movies. Stock market was good. We were building Hoover dams, making a railroad. I think that was a little bit. Well, that was a long time before actually, but the railroads were doing good. We're making cars, light bulbs. All this good stuff's happening. And also in that time, we basically got all that America, that land over there. So basically, all that is America now. We don't have just like random territories. Also, another thing that happened back in the 1800s was a war with Mexico. We were kind of just fighting with Mexico because they wanted like Texas, land in Texas. We were like, no! And so we killed them. But they killed a lot of us in the Alamo, which I think was a different event actually. I don't know. No one cares about the war with Mexico. But anyways, the 20s were doing good. But before the 20s was World War One, and that wasn't really our thing. It was these two little countries no one cares about started like punching each other, and then like their big brothers were like, "Hey, don't fight with my little brother," and so the older brothers started punching each other, and then their dads were like, "Hey, why are our kids fighting?" and then started fighting each other. So mostly Germany and France and England. And then the uncle, United States, is like, "Hey, leave my brother alone," and started fighting Germany for the only like the last 2 years. But we were kind of just there at the end, just to help them out, kind of put the icing on the cake. World War II was dumb. It was dumb. World War One was a dumb war. Anyways, so after that happened, we had the 20s. 20s were good, and then everyone hates Herbert Hoover. They're like, "Hey, you ruined the economy. Like, the stock market crashed. Now everyone's losing jobs, and now we're in a depression. Thanks, Herbert. We need someone better. We're gonna elect FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the cousin of Theodore Roosevelt." And everyone loved him. He started getting us out of things, and things were starting to look a little better. But the 30s were pretty rough. A great movie about that, Modern Times, Charlie Chaplin, the most funniest movie about the Depression. Anywho, and then and now we gotta talk about the rest of the world. So Germany was kind of like in a bad place because once we beat them in World War One, we're like, okay, you can't have a military, you can't have a navy. We're gonna do all this stuff, and now they're in a depression, and they're not doing good. So this crazy guy named Adolf Hitler, I don't know if you've heard of him, is like, "I will make Germany great again," and everyone was like, "Okay, I'll listen to this guy," and then he started like making a huge army, and everyone's like, "Wait, you can't do that. The treaty, no." And he's like, "Hey, we got a big army now. Look at us." And everyone's a little nervous. And then he invades Poland. And we're just sitting there like, And then this other country named Japan is starting to fight China. They're fighting China right now. We don't even care. Why do we care about China? And then they start taking over the Pacific. Start taking over the Pacific. We're a little like, what's going on there? So we go over to them and we're like talking and we're like, hey, we're cool, right? And they're like, yeah, we're good. And then Germany just, like, they're like, yo, Italy, what's up? And they're friends. And then they just start, like, taking places over. And we're like, should we do something about this? Nah. But then Japan decides to bomb one of our it wasn't really a base, but we had a lot of ships there, at Pearl Harbor. And after that, we're like, a lot of our people died. We're coming for you, Japan. And so we declare war on Japan, and then Germany's like, well, thanks, Japan. I guess we gotta fight them now, too. So now we're fighting Germany and Japan. Now, it takes us a long time to actually get over into Germany, because they took over France. So we kind of just start fighting down in Africa and Italy. And we're starting to make plans to invade Germany, though. And over in Japan, we're just fighting on, like, these little islands. We're like, what are we doing? And then the Japanese are just crazy. They're like, we're getting scared. They're like, how they just fight. They're like animals. They're like, it's called guerrilla warfare. It's scary, all right? And it's kind of just, we're just fighting around. But now eventually, us and the United Kingdom, why is it always called the United Kingdom? It's just England, all right? Us and England, or England and us, I don't know, this isn't about English, all right? We're like, okay, we're going to invade Normandy. Okay, we're going to storm the beaches in Normandy. And we did. And we basically freed France, and we started making our way to Germany. But the Russians got there first. But now we were really working on a atomic bomb right now. Like, we got to make this bomb so we can win this war before Germany does. Because if Germany gets a hold of that, it's, oh no. And we're like, hey, we finally got this nuke. Oh, Russia already defeated Germany. Well, now we got these nukes laying around. I guess we'll just use them on Japan. And so they bombed us, so we nuked them. And we dropped one on them, and they're like, uh-oh, that's not good. And so we dropped another one on them, and they're like, okay, now we quit. So we won 2 wars, basically, in like 4 years. So it's like, yeah, everyone's happy. You know, Navy guys are kissing their girlfriends in pictures that will everyone will remember forever. And so now things are looking pretty good for us. But now there's Russia. Right when we thought we were done with world wars, Russia's like, hee, communism. We're going to start taking over the world. And we're just like, we just ended this, right? Now we were just working with you, and now we're... And so basically, it never actually became a war, but there was always that threat of war. It's just called a Cold War, not a hot war. And this lasted from like the 50s all the way to the 80s. And at the time, at schools, they're like, okay, kids, if a nuclear bomb ever is dropped on us, hide under your desk, because that will save you. No, it won't. That didn't last very long, though. So everyone's very paranoid about Russians. They're like, you're a communist. You're a communist. Hey, it's like the Salem witch trials, almost. Everyone was afraid everyone was a communist. But yeah, FDR died because he was so old. And then we got Harry S. Truman, Dwight D. Eisenhower, JFK, LBJ. A lot of initial presidents, FDR, SHT, DE. No, those don't work. And at the time, and then in this around the 60s, we're like, hey, we're gonna like race to the moon, um, instead of blowing each other up. So, the Russians, they send this first satellite, and they sent the first man in space. But we're like, hey, we're gonna get to the moon first, and so we landed on the moon. We really didn't. It's just a conspiracy theory. No, I'm just kidding. But we got a guy on the moon first. I don't know what we really accomplished from that, but anyways, both countries were like, hey, we're gonna bomb you, not if we bomb you first. And then this little thing called the Korean War happened. Korea was like, North Korea was like, hey, we like communism. South Korea's like, no, we don't want communism. And so a bunch of countries in the UN kind of started helping them out, but they were kind of small countries that no one cares about. So we had to step in and we're like, okay, we'll help you out, South Korea. And for the most part, it actually turned out pretty successful. South Korea didn't go communist. North Korea did. The war was only like 2 years, but it was kind of like a stalemate for the whole time. So we're just like, okay, whatever. And so now North Korea is very behind in the rest of the world. And they're basically brainwashed to believe that their leader is the best person in the world. And they think they're going to bomb us with their 10 nukes that probably can't even get off the ground. While South Korea has actually invented some really nice stuff. They're really super advanced in technology. People there are pretty happy. So, communism? No. So, then things go on a little bit more. And then there's a thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis, too. Cuba's like, hey, we'll be communist, too. And Russia's like, all right, we're going to put, like, some bombs there so you guys can, like, so we can nuke the U.S. if we ever wanted to. And we're like, uh-oh, that's not good. So we put, like, it wasn't a blockade, because a blockade would mean war. But we put some ships down there. And then Russia wasn't happy about that. And basically, that almost started World War III, but thankfully we got out of that. So all the ships, went back in Cuba. Whee! Okay, now we're going over to Vietnam. Once again, China, Russia, they're like, hey, Vietnam, you want to be communist? And they're like, the North is like, yay! The South is like, no. I don't know why the North is always wanting to be communist and the South isn't. But, and it's never East and West. It's always North and South. I don't get it. And why is it always a geographical thing, too? Whatever. But anyways, in North Korea, Vietnam, we're talking about Vietnam now. We're like, hey, Vietnam, we'll help you guys out, too. But for some reason, a lot of people in the United States were like, hey, we shouldn't be helping them out. Why are we trying to stop communism? They're just trying to take over the world. We shouldn't be doing that. Hippies. Even though they didn't seem to have a problem with helping North Korea out. Basically, we're trying to help Vietnam out. But it's not actually going very well. We're going through these jungles and we're like, what is happening here? Crazy jungles. And this war was going on forever, too. It was like 10 years almost, I believe. And then we're like, got nowhere. So we're just like, you know what, we're done. We actually finally quit or lost a war, even though we weren't like, it was an official war, we were just helping out. So, but it was the first time we kind of lost war. But, so yeah, Vietnam. So that was the 60s and 70s. And then in the 80s, the Cold War's pretty much coming to an end, though. Both countries are like, hey, if we nuked each other, we would just end up destroying the whole world. Yeah, let's not do that. And Germany was split in two because of World War II. They're like, Russia got this half, the U.S., France, and the U.S. got like three different parts over here. And then Russia was like, hey, we're going to build a wall right down Berlin, you know. So it's called the Berlin Wall. And then in the 60s, we're like, hey, take down that wall. Build a wall. And so that happened. And now Germany was kind of like, yay, weird. And then we all left Germany, and Germany is now just Germany. But yes, the 80s were a little bit more relaxed. We started getting, you know, the big news in the 80s was Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark, that type of stuff. And then in the 90s, you know, there was like a Gulf War, we did some stuff. I really actually don't even know what that's about. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Obama. But yeah, nothing really happened in the 90s either. It was just kind of, that in the 80s were just kind of weird clothes and weird music. So anyways, the 90s happened, and then the 2000s happened. And at first, it got off to a rough start. Everyone's like, the world's gonna end! Y2K! The internet's gonna, like, blow us up or something? I don't know. But that didn't happen. And people are like, okay, well, that didn't happen, so this will actually be good now. But then just 1 year later, some crazy people decided, hey, we're gonna fly our planes into the World Trade Center and blow them up and kill a bunch of people. And everyone in America was just like, what? So now we have to deal with terrorism. And so we're like, okay, we're going to go kill some people. We're going to run around the Middle East for like 10 years. So yeah, that happened. And a lot of other things. The Patriot Act happened. You know, we're gonna make it. Actually, I don't know the details, but basically trying to stop terrorism. You know, they got the tougher security at airports and stuff like that. And George Bush was the president, and a lot of people hated him, a lot of people liked him. He did say some dumb things a lot. He would just say funny things. But he actually did some pretty cool things. I watched a video about how he helped out a lot of people in Africa, actually. So that's pretty cool. And then Obama became president in 2008. And he's like... Actually, I don't even know what I'm doing. But he was the first African-American president. Oh, speaking of African-Americans, we're going to go back in time a little bit. There was a civil rights movement. The black people were like, hey, why do we need to be in different schools and drink out of different water fountains? We should, like, not do that. And some white people were like, yeah, sure, we don't, yeah. Then other white people were like, black people are scary. And Martin Luther King is like, I'm Martin Luther King. And eventually black people, you know, things were desegregated, and it was good. Anyways, back to Obama. Yeah, he was Obama. Some people liked him, some people don't like him. That's kind of how most presidents are, really. But, anywho, in 2011, we killed Osama bin Laden, who was the leader of Al-Qaeda, or the Taliban, or some terrorist group, who we believe was in charge of 9/11. And that was good. But now there's ISIS. So it's like, no matter what, these terrorists are going to be there. So we're just like, And then in 2016, the presidential election between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton destroyed America. Everyone was fighting each other. Um, Now families are torn apart, and now we have Donald Trump as our president. Some people are like, yay. Some people are like, the world's going to end. We'll just have to see. But that's the basics of American history. I know there's definitely stuff I left out that I just forgot about. There's just so much. It's hard to just explain in 44 minutes. But I did my best. I might have got a few things wrong. Doesn't mean I'm a complete idiot. It's just a lot of information just spout out. Maybe I am an idiot. Maybe none of that was actually true. Maybe it's all conspiracy theory. So, thank you for watching this American history. Hopefully you learned maybe just a little bit about American history. And that's all I got to say about that.